everything is running as per usual. As you can see, the fur babies are here. There we go. Should be able to see now. There we go. To my right is Cheddar, the owner of this place. To my left is Whiskey, the original owner of this place. Don't tolerate that. Let's see. This is post work. Would have done it this morning as usual, but yeah, I had work this morning. Wasn't too bad. It was a good day. Doing today. I'm gonna do dips. Who do I want to do the dips? Some sort of leg workout. Probably the ab wheel later as well. Got a good hour. My missus gets home, then we're gonna go head out, have some grilled chicken at this lovely Middle Eastern franchise called El Jana's. Board game night tonight on a weekday, so isn't that always fun? But things we do for our jokes. Well, sort of. I'm completely ready here. Ankle. Surprisingly enough, these two are about the same age, even though Whiskey was here earlier.
If you thought we were going to start the week off with a happy story, you are sorely mistaken. Police in Colorado handcuffed a woman, put her in the back of their patrol car, which just happened to be on train tracks, and it got hit by a fucking train. And we know this because it was captured on body cam footage. So what happened? I know you need details. The police in Colorado arresting 20-year-old Yoreni Rios Gonzalez near a set of train tracks for a gun-related road rage incident. Like I said, they put her in the patrol car, which is for some reason idling on the train tracks or searching her truck. And at one point, you can even hear a train sounding off in the distance while the cops are searching through her truck, just ignoring it or not paying attention. Meanwhile, Rios Gonzalez, via her lawyer, said that she saw it coming. She could hear the horn, that she was trying to get the police officers' attention, screaming at them. She had her hands tied behind her back and was frantically trying to unlock the door. However, instead of trying to pull her out, all we see is an officer running away as the train pummels the car. Their lawyer adding that he doesn't understand why the police parked the car on the train tracks in the first place and why they didn't move it when they arrested Rios Gonzalez. Now, luckily, we know that the woman is alive, but she did sustain serious injuries. 9 broken ribs, a fractured sternum, head, and back injuries.
Hit by
the woman
a train.
is expected to survive, and an officer has been placed under investigative leave while the situation is
survive
reviewed. And I do want to note, I understand that there are 2 different incidents here. There is whatever this woman allegedly did, though right now no charges have been filed against her. And then there is arresting a person, putting them on train tracks. Like, are you in a fucking...
Whenever our lungs breathe in,
who ties someone up and leaves them on train tracks? But as of now, the police department has released a statement saying, due to several ongoing investigations by outside agencies, the town will not be commenting further on this incident, and adding they're fully cooperating with all relevant investigations and will await findings on the specific involvement of its employee in this matter. But I also have to wonder, what could that investigation find out? That putting someone in the back of a police car on train tracks is a bad idea? Thank you for the investigative work. Jesus Christ. They changed the requirement to get into law enforcement in this town to be, do you want to be a cop? Check yes or no. And then KSI, iShowSpeed, and countless other creators absolutely fucking destroyed the internet this weekend, and I mean that in a good way. So if you don't know, this group of internet creators known as the Sidemen, they're huge everywhere, but especially in the UK, they have this charity football match. It's been a while since the last one. There's been a lot of hype for this, and let's just go by the numbers. It's all mind-blowing. They held it at a football stadium that houses 27,000 people. The match itself was actually really close, 8-7, entertaining the entire way through. At peak, 2.6 million people were watching the event. That video alone has almost 20 million views as of recording this, and they raised $1 million for charity in record time. This is a resounding success in every way. It was like a mixture between this charitable good and this actually entertaining match, and a mix of WWE, largely thanks to iShowSpeed, whether it be because he was doing Ronaldo impressions, or he stole the ref's yellow card and smacked him on the ass.
He's going to book the ref here. Clanberg's running away! It's an absolute pantomime!
of a game.
He whips his bum.
Yeah, a massive congratulations and props to everyone that put on and were a part of that event. Huge. And then you got less than 24 hours to get in on the beautifulbastard.com draw. Some stuff will be available afterwards, but most of it's going away. So while you can snag the keep going tie-dyes for yourself or a friend, maybe the Bringer of Sadness World Tour gear, the Beautiful Bastard monkey, the ghouls just want to have fun stuff, or Beautiful Bastardify your room with some awesome posters. You get some awesome when you support something you love. Or like, or watch to fill your brain with noise so you don't have to have your own thoughts in your head anymore. And then, Russia's tearing itself apart right now. So last week, Sad Boy Vlad announced a partial mobilization of around 300,000 Russian citizens to fight in the war against Ukraine. And while only some Russians were against Vlad the Week's attack on Ukraine, turns out many Russians were against going themselves. Putin has greatly failed, he's getting desperate, many people there not on board, making it abundantly clear. Some doing so by protesting, and others, we're seeing things like news today where a 25-year-old gunman opened fire at a military draft office in Siberia, critically wounding the office's commander. The assailant, who's been arrested and is in custody right now, reportedly acting because he was angry that he and his friend were given draft summons despite not having any military experience, or seemingly feeling like they were just getting thrown into the wood chipper. And as part of the mobilization announcement last week, top Kremlin officials said that only men who had military experience and a specialization would be called to serve. But instead, there have been numerous reports of people who are unfit or do not meet the criteria being called to report for duty, including a disproportionate number of ethnic minorities, which has obviously furthered concerns about Russia's ability to properly train and equip these recruits. And in fact, the process has been such a fucking disaster that officials have even taken the rare step there of admitting they made a mistake, with the Kremlin spokesperson acknowledging just today that there have been errors in summoning people who should have been exempt, though he also tried to shift the blame to local authorities who have been implementing the draft effort. But also, understand this shooting today is far from the only act of defiance that we've seen. Since the announcement last Wednesday, there have been 17 attacks on military recruitment centers at administrative buildings. And all we're seeing is more and more. I mean, just today we saw reports that a man drove his car into a recruiting center and then set it on fire by throwing several Molotov cocktails into the building. And it's not just attacks on centers. We saw a recent video showing a drafted man setting himself on fire and screaming he didn't want to go to the front. Beyond that, we've also seen protests against mobilization breaking out in dozens of cities across Russia following the draft announcement, though Russia trying to quickly crack down on this, with a Russia-based human rights organization reporting that police have arrested over 2,240 demonstrators as of Sunday. Meanwhile, you've got tons of people trying to flee Russia altogether right now, with thousands of cars lining up at the border carrying young men trying to avoid the draft, with one independent Russian newspaper reporting that Russian authorities estimate that 261,000 men fled the country just between last Wednesday and Saturday. And so, of course, there are concerns that Russian authorities will respond by closing down the border or even instituting martial law. And it's even being reported that a number of countries neighboring Russia have moved to restrict entry from those fleeing conscription. The Wall Street Journal reporting that over the weekend, Putin signed a new law that will punish soldiers with up to 10 years in prison if they refuse to fight, desert their post, or surrender. And so that's where we are. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, especially because, I mean, this matters on so many levels. Not only what happens between Russia and Ukraine, but also on an international scale. We're seeing a sad, desperate, failing man, and it's important to always remember this is a country that has nukes. And so there's always this question in the air of what will he do, and will those around him just let the madman continue? And then, you know, it's really annoying how companies are collecting, aggregating, and trading your personal data without you knowing. Data brokers, marketing brokers, financial information brokers, too many brokers, all selling to third parties or using it for themselves. And that process of deleting the information, it can take years. But thanks to our fantastic sponsor, Incogni, they'll do it for you. Your data can be compromised by something as simple as registering for a store's loyalty card, and then a few days later you're getting spam in your mailbox and calls to your phone. Or for super fun times, someone finds your home address. And I mean, info like your name, email, home address, social security number, it gets collected and sold over and over again. It can feel out of control. So when listing Incogni to take on the process of removing your data off the market, it just makes sense. So go to incogni.com/DeFranco, and the first 100 people to use code DeFranco will get 20% off Incogni. It's incogni.com/DeFranco, and use code DeFranco to get your personal data off the market. And then people are freaking out about Italy right now. It's not just because the country invented and dropped Pizza 2.0, rather because Giorgia Meloni, leader of the Brothers of Italy party, has now declared overwhelming victory in the general election, with exit polls showing that her right-wing alliance got at least 44% of the vote, and her party grabbed the biggest share with at least 26%. Then Matteo Salvini's far-right League party getting 9%, former PM Silvio Berlusconi's center-right Forza Italia getting 8%. Altogether, very strong numbers, with the center-left alliance only getting around 26% of the vote, putting it squarely in the minority. So while the final poll results should come out today, the U-Trend projection says that the right wing could get as many as 238 of the 400 seats in the lower house and 112 of the 200 seats in the upper house. So those on the right, of course, obviously loving this news, celebrating this news, but also in Europe, there are many who are concerned. Many noting that Meloni is the furthest right politician who could have taken power in Italy. But if you looked online, you've seen people people saying this is girl boss fascism or calling her girl boss Mussolini. But also for people who haven't been following her career or the elections in Italy, there's a question of, okay, well, what does this actually mean? What does that look like? Why are people saying that? Is it just fear-mongering? So looking into it, we find things like a clip of her speaking to the far-right Vox party in Spain earlier this year.
Either you say yes or you say no. Yes to the natural family, no to the LGBT lobby. Yes to sex identity, no to gender ideology. Yes to the culture of life, not the abysm of death. Yes to the University of the Cross, no to the Islamist violence. Yes to secure borders, no to mass migration. Yes to the work of our citizens, no to big international finance. Yes to the sovereignty of peoples, no to the bureaucrats in Brussels, and yes to our civilization.
As for more concrete policies, she's hardcore anti-refugee, and in that vein, she posted a video last month promising to impose a naval blockade in the Mediterranean to stop people fleeing Libya on boats. People also noting that she has said that she will not ban abortion, which has been legal in Italy since 1978, but local areas where her party has ruled has seen abortion access restricted. You also have people pointing to her attitude toward the European Union, which is complicated. On one hand, she has floated the idea of taking Italy out of the Eurozone or even the EU entirely, but they're threatening to shake up the status quo in Europe by joining forces with other far-right demagogues like Hungary's Viktor Orbán. On the other hand, Italy is dependent on the EU, and she knows it, with the country being one of the most deeply indebted in the Eurozone, and it's actually received some 200 billion euros in European pandemic recovery funds, and being promised 19 billion just for this year, which is nearly 2% of Italy's GDP. And that money isn't guaranteed. Just before the election, the European Commission's president suggested that it would cut funding for Italy if Meloni's government went in an undemocratic direction. And so many who are not happy with her getting into this position of power hope that her tight position will force her to moderate her politics, which people say would line up with the way that she has branded herself during this election, stressing that she is a conservative, not a fascist. But also, when you have to convince people that you are not the next Mussolini, you might not be off to the best start. And notably, that fear doesn't come out of nowhere. Right? That party, Brothers of Italy, has its roots in the Italian social movement, which is a neo-fascist party that came up in the wake of World War II to continue Mussolini's legacy. And in fact, the movement's symbol, a tricolor flame, remains on the party's flag, with Meloni refusing to remove it to this day. And actually, back in the 90s, she began her political career by joining the movement's youth branch and then going on to lead it after it was renamed the National Alliance. And also, you might have seen this clip already, she infamously said around that time,
I believe that Mussolini was a good politician, which means that everything he did for Italy.
And this is also the same party that last week had to suspend a member who was running for parliament after a newspaper revealed that he had made comments supporting Hitler. So that is what happened, but now there's the question of why and how. And maybe you've seen those headlines. How did such an extremist rise to power? And the answer appears partly to do with the record low voter turnout this election, especially in the South. You also have some scholars saying that it is gender washing, which is when far-right female politicians brand themselves as advocates for women while stripping them of reproductive rights and hurting their interests in other ways, which you can see here, for example.
The left defends the woman unless it encounters a criminal foreigner. At that moment, because of their ideology, the criminal foreigner is more valuable than the woman.
But also, and I think this is a really important note to hit not only here but elsewhere, her success is also a symptom of profound discontent with the establishment parties. Right, Meloni co-founded Brothers of Italy in 2012 as a splinter party from the mainstream right in Italy. And both it and its predecessors, the Italian Social Movement and the National Alliance, only got single-digit numbers in the polls. Right, as recently as the 2018 election, Brothers in Italy only got 4% of the vote, but during the unity government in 2021 and 2022, it was left as the only opposition party, which has caused it to skyrocket in popularity, leading us to today, exactly 100 years since Mussolini's fascists marched on Rome. And it's hard to overstate how significant this is, even if Meloni doesn't accomplish a ton in terms of policy, because this signals an earth-quaking shift in Europe's third largest economy, coming after 69 successive governments since 1946, none of which were as far-right as this one. And understand, this is not just a European phenomenon. Both Meloni and Orbán spoke at the Conservative Political Action Conference in the US this year. And many of these far-right populist figures, be it Trump, Bolsonaro, Modi, and so many others, they share a similar ideology. They oppose immigration, they oppose women's and LGBT rights, and above all, they oppose democratic norms and institutions. But ultimately, that is where that story and today's show ends. As always, thank you for watching and subscribing to my daily dives into the news. Also, for more news you need to see, click or tap right there. But as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just today. So hey, buckle up, make sure you hit that like button. And actually, if you want to get some awesome for yourself or someone you know, and at the same time support the show, you only have 12 hours left to get on this latest BeautifulBastard.com drop. I'm talking about the Keep Going Tie-Dyes Bringer of Sadness World Tour, Beautiful Bastard Monkey, Ghouls Just Want to Have Fun, and all these these posters, signed and unsigned. So get in on it because it ends at midnight Pacific time. But hey, let's just jump into it. One of the Try Guys is dead to the internet. I should clarify that. So if you don't know who the Try Guys are, they're a massively popular group online. They got their start with BuzzFeed, then branching out on their own, absolutely crushing it. And each of the four kind of have their own thing that they're known for. I kind of thought of them like as a boy band group in that aspect. And one of them, Ned Fulmer, was known by many as the I Love My Wife guy. But apparently recently rumors have been popping up that he actually cheated on his wife. And the talk around this started to increase as people seemed to notice that, hey, did they cut Ned out of this video and that video? And then someone posted blurry media that appeared to be Ned and some other woman kissing, which is part of the reason I think there was so much initial talk about, oh, is this just a story about parasocial relationships? Right? We don't know about what's happening in this person's personal life. It should be their own, but maybe I'm like too involved with watching them as a fan. But then even more people jumped on this story when it came out that the person that he was with was actually an employee, which for a lot of people changed the situation. It wasn't, you know, you were watching someone you don't know and cheating on their spouse. For many, this became, oh, was there a weird power dynamic situation that we need to look at here? But up until just minutes before recording this, it was all speculation, people talking about it. There was no full confirmation of anything until the Try Guys released a statement. Ned Fulmer is no longer working with the Try Guys. As a result of a thorough internal review, we do not see a path forward together. We thank you for your support as we navigate this change. With Ned then minutes later posting, family should have always been my priority, but I lost focus and had a consensual workplace relationship. I'm sorry for any pain that my actions may have caused to the guys and the fans, but most of all, Ariel. The only thing that matters right now is my marriage and my and that watching that in this person so much, and then someone posted blurry media that appeared to notice. Rumors have been popping. They cut Ned out of this video and that video, and then someone posted blurry media that appeared to be Ned and some other woman kissing, which is part of the reason I think there was so much initial talk about, oh, is this just a story about parasocial relationships? Right? We don't know about what's happening in this person's personal life. It should be their own, but maybe I'm like too involved with watching them as a fan. But then even more people jumped on this story when it came out that the person that he was with was actually an employee, which for a lot of people changed the situation. It wasn't, you know, you were watching someone you don't know cheating on their spouse. For many, this became, oh, was there a weird power dynamic situation that we need to look at here? But up until just minutes before recording this, it was all speculation, people talking about it. There was no full confirmation of anything until the Try Guys released a statement. Ned Fulmer is no longer working with the Try Guys. As a result of a thorough internal review, we do not see a path forward together. We thank you for your support as we navigate this change. With Ned then minutes later posting, family should have always been my priority, but I lost focus and had a consensual workplace relationship. I'm sorry for any pain that my actions may have caused to the guys and the fans, and most of all, Ariel. The only thing that matters right now is my marriage and my children, and that's where I'm going to focus my attention. But ultimately, as of recording, that is where we are. This is all still developing. It'll be interesting to see if there's any other fallout. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. And then YouTube is killing my videos. That is not a statement I ever thought I'd be hearing from a mainstream music artist. Because if you're even remotely familiar with YouTube, you know they're, let's call it, inconsistent when it comes to enforcing their rules. And that's the case in many situations, but especially when it comes to musical artists. The shit that's allowed in music videos is egregious compared to most homegrown creators. And the conversation around this spiked yesterday after Nicki Minaj announced that her new Little Miss remix video got age-gated. Sharing a screenshot of YouTube's age restriction notice on Instagram and writing, they restricted my fucking video but have things a million fucking times worse on their bogus fucking platform. This is what they do to keep you from winning while doing ads for other people and posting fake fucking stats. Because the same people who run YouTube are in bed with a certain record label and management company. Further claiming that this was done to prevent her from getting a lot of the views in the first 24 hours. Tagging YouTube to further allege favoritism and continuing. How long have y'all been playing the numbers game to lie and pretend people are doing good when they're not? How much ad space did these duds purchase to be promoted on my channel in the last 5 years? Now for some details and context here, the music video for Little Miss Remix does feature a lot of close-up shots of people in skimpy outfits twerking. But like I said at the top, music videos are usually spared from strict moderation that the rest of us have to deal with. It's the kind of content where YouTube's like, I didn't see nothing. Right, the WAP music video, not age-gated. Minaj's own Anaconda video, not age-gated. But if you or I or whoever the hell twerked in our own video on our own channel, we'd probably end up in suppression hell. And while the core of this story is, Nicki Minaj was held to the same standards as everyday people, she was correct in it not seeming to make sense that YouTube did this. There are other music videos where there's similar imagery where that didn't get restricted. And so especially with Nicki sounding off on this, you had fans confused and outraged as to why this happened to her new video. And lucky for Minaj, she did not get treated like the rest of the peasants here on this platform, because her video didn't sit in age gate hell for too long, because yesterday YouTube lifted the restriction, saying the video didn't violate violate the platform's community guidelines, but still, Minaj wasn't happy, responding to the news by tweeting, "Fuck them duds, they can't give us back our first 24 hours, can they?" Though she did eventually delete those Instagram posts where she called YouTube out, and her video currently sits at over 1 million views since going up on Sunday. So I think there's a lot of different things at play here. If I'm Nicki Minaj, I think I'm rightfully pissed off. In the music industry, the first 24 hours is the most important, but even if you compare it to just her newest music video just 3 weeks ago, that had 17 million views. So without a doubt, what YouTube did here knocked a lot of the steam out. But on the other end of this, as a viewer and a veteran of this platform, I can't help but see this as, someone that's usually been treated like an S-tier client for YouTube, having a moment where they were treated like a regular person, even if just temporarily held down by the same rules as everyone else on this platform. And so don't get it twisted. I'm not angry at Nicki Minaj here. If anything, it rekindles my frustrations with YouTube. There is always favoritism at play, and it becomes most apparent when someone that has been driving on the beautiful paved highway that you built for them, they get knocked off temporarily onto the gravel that the rest of us have to fucking walk. And if I'm saying that as a creator with over 6 million followers and other creators who are even bigger than fucking me are complaining about YouTube's favoritism, then I can't imagine how fucking horrible it is for people with like 100,000 or less, or even just under 1 million. Or we've even talked about the unfair and inconsistent enforcement recently with the Corey Kenshin controversy, him noting that his video was treated differently than a similar one by Markiplier, and YouTube just handling it in the most chaotic way. And Corey there talking about racism and favoritism. Markiplier then started the try not to get age-restricted challenge. Creators like Jacksepticeye also joining that conversation, saying that he noticed that as a major creator, he sometimes thinks that he gets favorable treatment on that front.
Shouldn't it be consistent across everybody's? I don't want special treatment because I'm a bigger YouTuber. I don't want special treatment because I've been on the platform for a while, or maybe my content has been a bit more palatable to a lot of people.
But it is what it is, I suppose, and I think that's also part of the reason why you're seeing people embrace some of their competitors. And then Uber and the drug trade, apparently like peanut butter jelly. It's a big move for the company that started out by transporting people, then expanding to food, and for the past couple of years is becoming a general courier service with Uber Connect, part of the platform that allows drivers to pick up packages from customers and then deliver them to a chosen destination. We actually use this all the time to get samples of our shirts from the best. But I mean, pretty much whatever you need, move from point A to point B, they got it. A butt plug from Magnus Carlsen, a secret document from Mar-a-Lago, that waffle machine they can't seem to get rid of. Whatever it is, Uber has got you covered. And while it began during the pandemic as a way to send care packages to people without leaving their homes, some drivers have noticed some suspicious-looking orders. We're talking bags of white stuff, probably just out of season snow, cigar boxes wrapped tightly in duct tape, a bottle of pills labeled as prescription amphetamine. And if you're driving and you get this package, you might think, oh god, are there illegal narcotics inside? But you're not allowed to open it and check. And so these drivers are left with options that are really outside of their pay range. You could just deliver it anyway, but that makes you complicit in illegal activity. Plus, who knows what happens if you get pulled over by a cop with it in your car. You could also cancel the trip. Many drivers are worried about doing that because they fear Uber will penalize them, though the company denies that would happen. Or finally, you could take it to the police, like one driver in Tampa did after holding their package up to the light and seeing 2 white crystal-like rocks inside a clear plastic bag. But the cops saying they have not been able to identify the substance and are awaiting further testing. But if you go that route, you could be putting yourself in real physical danger, as this anonymous driver explained to NBC.
This person actually took the pictures of my card and my license plate. It was a driver. There was an issue with the package.
And I mean, that fear only intensifies with the knowledge that the customer can track their movements on the app. So if you take a detour into the police station, they know. And so these poor Uber drivers are going to get punished by either their conscience, the police, Uber, or an angry drug dealer, which is also why this is likely an underreported problem. But NBC talked to several people in the US and Australia who are worried that they're being used as unwitting drug mules. And it's not like Uber is not aware. Uber itself said that it received 6 information requests from law enforcement related to suspected drugs in Uber Connect since 2021. But saying in its defense, when we receive this type of report, our global safety team investigates and may take actions ranging from deactivating the relevant account to reporting the issue to law enforcement. But some drivers say that's not enough. They want preventative reforms to keep them safe while they're on the job. Moves that maybe I'm a cynic, I don't think they're going to do. Things like, for example, doing background checks on customers, removing penalties for canceling trips, and limiting Uber Connect to just businesses instead of individuals. And then, I think most of us, no matter what's going on in the world, should stand to save more and spend less. Also, Lindsay, I'm speaking to everyone, not just you right now. And if this sounds like you as well, then you should check out today's fantastic sponsor, Rocket Money. Rocket Money is an all-in-one personal finance platform that helps you manage subscriptions, lower bills, monitor your credit score, and build your savings all in one place. With their smart savings account, you can choose the amount and frequency, and Rocket Money will automatically deposit savings into smart savings accounts that you can withdraw from any time. Also, another fantastic feature is their credit score monitoring, which alerts you to important events that impact your score while offering insights on improving it. And my personal favorite thing, Rocket Money canceling unwanted subscriptions. They safely and securely identify recurring charges and cancel unwanted subscriptions with just one tap. No need to go through any A customer service, run around. I get exhausted and angry just thinking about it. They do the work for you. Rocket Money gives you a clear picture of your net worth, including your cash, debts, investments, crypto, retirement accounts, collectible items, whatever. And it shows you how it's trending over time. So to download Rocket Money for free, just head on over to rocketmoney.com/DeFranco or click that link in the video description below. And then Hurricane Ian is set to really fuck things up right now, making landfall in Cuba this morning as a major Category 3 storm, and it's only going to get worse as it heads towards Florida. The storm's been battering western Cuba with sustained winds of 125 miles per hour, just 5 miles short of a Category 4 hurricane, with the National Hurricane Center warning of life-threatening storm surges, hurricane-force winds, flash floods, and mudslides expected in the region today. It's estimated that around 50,000 people have been evacuated as of this morning. Reportedly, flooding has damaged houses and tobacco crops in the region. There have been widespread power outages. And as these dangerous conditions continue in Cuba, Ian is expected to move into the Gulf of Mexico and pass west of the Florida Keys later today, and then becoming a Category 4 before the end of it. Though officials do predict that it will drop to a Category 3 before making landfall as a major hurricane in Florida, which is expected to be tomorrow evening. The administrator of FEMA is saying today that Ian is currently forecast to land somewhere between Fort Myers and Tampa, and adding that the storm is expected to slow down as it hits Florida, which just increases the potential devastation, but also currently forecast is the key term here. That's just the forecast we had this morning, but this storm's exact path is still uncertain, and as Axios notes, slight changes in storm motion will have major consequences for the landfall location. And because of all this uncertainty, people all over Florida have been scrambling to prepare this storm. This is something I know fucking firsthand. To just vent for a second, I provided every fucking solution to my 2 sets of parents that are in Florida right now.
Cheers,
Partly
sleepy.
because of the uncertainty, but also just due
crunches,
to a level of inaction that is just confusing to me. The number of potential safe options go down by the hour.
Like saving them up or anything like that.
Resources like myself, like this level of uncertainty that we're seeing right now has left people scrambling all over Florida. And so now as we get closer to landfall, we have schools closing down, airports suspending operations, Governor Ron DeSantis activating the National Guard and taking steps to ensure power outages can be remedied. So with that warning that many should anticipate losing power. And there's also a lot of watches and warnings in place all over Florida and even in parts of Georgia and South Carolina. And understand, for many people, it's not like a maybe we should leave. Evacuation warnings have been implemented across many parts of Florida already, with officials saying that around 2.5 million people are currently under some kind of evacuation order. This including some mandatory evacuations largely in coastal and low-lying areas, as well as some of those evacuation orders extending to parts of Tampa, Florida's 3rd largest city. And I really cannot stress this enough. I'm someone that actually lived in Tampa for a decent chunk of my life. Tampa has not been hit by a major hurricane in over a century. We've had to deal with hurricanes hitting Florida, but not like this. A fact that just further emphasizes the unusual path this specific storm is taking. Well, unfortunately, I cannot hit on all the evacuation orders in place right now. I'm gonna link to resources in the description for tracking evacuation zones and statuses, as well as where those evacuating can locate shelters. Because hey, whenever there's a situation like this, I always hope, hey, maybe everything's overblown, and I love when that's the case. But when the prediction is accurate, it's fucking devastating, and there are very serious threats posed by this hurricane right now. According to the NHC, hurricane-force winds and tropical storm conditions, as well as heavy rainfall and flooding, are expected throughout much of the region. And considerable flooding is not only expected in central Florida, but also predicted to extend into southern Georgia and coastal South Carolina. But easily, one of the biggest threats this hurricane poses is storm surge flooding at the coast, with the NHC warning that, quote, life-threatening storm surge looks increasingly likely along much of the Florida west coast, with the highest risk from Fort Myers to the Tampa Bay region. And beyond the immediate importance of people talking about this now, moving forward, it's important to know that, experts have pointed out that these insanely dangerous threats of storm surge and catastrophic flooding have been drastically exacerbated by climate change. The most basic example of that being sea level rise driven by climate change, making surges and flooding more likely and more extreme. Just to use one example, you have St. Petersburg, where sea levels have risen by nearly 9 inches since 1947. We're talking an actual 9 inches, not a Tinder high 9 inches. And that's just one thing. We're seeing the impact of climate change in real time with this storm. In addition to climate change being linked to an increase in rainfall from tropical storms and hurricanes, Ian has reportedly been rapidly intensifying over extremely warm sea surface temperatures in the Caribbean that are running above average for this time of year. And the report adding that climate change favors more instances of rapidly intensifying storms such as Hurricane Ian due to the combination of warming seas and a warmer atmosphere that can carry additional amounts of water vapor. But unfortunately, that's where we are with this story, and now we just have to wait and see what happens in Florida as Hurricane Ian makes landfall. But please, if you live in these impacted areas, listen to officials in your area and stay safe. And then Texas's top lawyer is running from the law right now. Like literally. running. So the state's attorney general is Ken Paxton, and the law in this case is a lawsuit filed last month by several abortion funds and one provider, and it seeks to block Texas from charging individuals under its abortion ban in cases that happened out of state court before Roe v. Wade was overturned. And according to an affidavit, 2 subpoenas were issued for Paxton to show up at a federal court hearing today, one for his professional title, the other for his personal name. So yesterday morning, Ernesto Martin Herrera, the official sent to serve the subpoenas, arrived at Paxton's home, knocking on the door, standing face to face with a woman calling herself Angela, who then informs Herrera that her husband is on the phone and in a hurry to leave. So the official's like, all right, returns to his car where he then waits for around an hour. What happens next is it's so fucking cartoonish that you would be like, oh, that's unbelievable, if it wasn't for the fact that this was a Texas politician we're talking about. The car suddenly pulls into the home's garage and Paxton steps out, prompting Herrera to walk up to the driveway, calling out his name, at which point Paxton runs inside the house, disappearing for a few minutes before Angela returns in his place. With her climbing into a black Chevrolet truck in the driveway, revving up the engine, making sure to leave the driver's side rear door open, and she does so for the exact reason you're picturing in your mind. Paxton then executes the climax of his plan. He sprints out of the door inside the garage and leaps into the truck for a clean getaway. But Herrera is quick. He sees Paxton making a run for it. He attempts to intercept, approaching the vehicle, loudly calling the Attorney General's name, stating that he had court documents for him. But Paxton just ignores him and joins Angela in the truck, with Herrera placing the court documents alongside it. But of course, they don't get out. The fucking Attorney General for Texas just hightails it out of there, leaving Herrera and his 2 little subpoenas in the dust. And it now looks like Paxton's actually going to escape those for good because a judge has granted his request to quash the subpoenas. With Paxton also somehow citing concerns for his own safety on Twitter, saying, "This is a ridiculous waste of time and the media should be ashamed of themselves." All across the country, conservatives have faced threats to their safety, many threats that receive scant coverage or condemnation from the mainstream media. It's clear that the media wants to drum up another controversy involving my work as Attorney General, so they're attacking me for having the audacity to avoid a stranger lingering outside my home and showing concern about the safety and well-being of my family. And that, it was the end of that quote full of lies and bullshittery. And I just love that this sniveling fucking coward had the audacity to put out a statement today saying, "Given that this suspicious and erratic man charged me on my private property, he is lucky this situation did not escalate further or necessitate force. You ran like a little bitch from papers. The fact remains that you are a coward and a liar. The only question in the air is which one more than the other." And then, women, life, freedom. That's the growing rallying cry being shouted right now by Iranian protesters as they take to the streets for nearly the second straight week in defiance of the government. These largely women-led protests triggered by the September 13th death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini while in custody of the so-called morality police.
Hour loop. I somehow chose the hour loop of this song. Oh no, this is the next song after, because it was the last song on my playlist. Alright.
He died due to unknown health issues. Bullshit. With it instead being widely
Trying to confuse the
reported that
DMCA monster. So if I play 2 things at once, then
one of the most
you can't
disgusting
figure out what
parts
I'm
of this is
listening
that the reason she was in custody at all, her crime, what was it? Wearing her hijab incorrectly. Something that's technically done by women across Iran every day. And for women across this country, her death was just another example of the gross injustices that they face under the Islamic regime, with many feeling that they're treated as second-class citizens. Most likely because they are treated like second-class citizens. So it wasn't surprising to see the typical scene at these protests, including women burning their hijabs, cutting their hair, openly walking around without a hijab, all in defiance of the country's conservative dress code. These protesters, these women are badasses, because understand, these are not small acts of defiance either. Beyond the normal legal repercussions, security forces have been using deadly force against demonstrators while also targeting people for arrest in their homes. As of recording, and this number will go up, there have been at least 76 deaths and well over 1,000 arrests, but the exact numbers are hard to know as the government has resorted to
maybe I'll do your punches at the end.
Information flow. So it's entirely possible we're going to see these numbers skyrocket, but also I want to note it's not just women who have come out, as these protests have increasingly morphed into anger at the regime for various reasons in general, re-sparking old frustrations over once rallying cries for their own major protests. However, the government hopes to handle this series of protests like they've done in the past with overwhelming force. President Ibrahim Raisi warning on Sunday night that the thugs and rioters would be dealt with decisively after a 5th member of a pro-government paramilitary group was killed by protesters. The regime has also resorted to organizing counter-protests, which just increases the risk of violence in the streets. And as far as what happens from here, it remains to be seen. These protests do not seem to be dying out in Iran, and they have widespread international support. But Iran has seen similar large-scale protests as recently as 2020 and 2019 with almost no changes. Something I will say Persian friends of mine are quick to remind me of when we have conversations about what's happening here. However, it is important to know that they seem to be happening with increasing frequency as young people in Iran are increasingly getting fed up with what little prospects they have in the country. And when there is this much pain and there is this much anger and there is that much desperation where you feel like a life might be snuffed out for no fucking reason, it really is just a matter of time before things change, one way or another. But ultimately, that is where that story and today's show ends. As always, thank you for watching and being subscribed to my daily dives into the news. If you want to snag something from beautifulbastard.com, remember you only have a few hours left. But as always, my name is Philip Franco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Blue-haired feminist. I once believed that male privilege was real and that I was a victim of the wage gap.
G'day, you good motherfuckers, I'm up smart here, and I tell you what, I'm on tour right now. I've only got about 6 shows left in the entire year. That's the end. It's all over. Goodbye. Au revoir. I'm doing the farewell tour. I won't be back for another year, so come and see me live. Holy shit. This is Shannon McHale. She recently released an 80-second video on TikTok and Instagram and all the platforms that these kids are using these days in between school shootings. And she basically cracks down on feminism. This video received millions of views, tens of millions of views, in fact, hundreds of thousands of likes, tens of thousands of comments, and a lot were angry, but a lot were really, really relieved and surprised and got behind her. But a lot were angry. She was explaining that yes, she is a woman, a proud woman, but she's not a feminist. In fact, she is anti-feminist. A crazy point of view to put out there, particularly as a woman, because as you know, these feminists who proudly state that they absolutely love all women and yada yada yada, they fucking hate that shit. Here's some of the comments that I found quickly scrolling. They're all within 10 comments of each other. Girl, are you okay? Well, this video set us back 50 years. She really said that with a straight face? Where are you getting this information from? An alt-right pipeline. Alright, let's have a look at what upset so many cranky feminists on the socials. But first, this video is brought to you by the great people at Crush Organics. Crush Organics are the world's leading supplier in high-grade quality CBD oil. All to help you stay calm, cool, collected, and in charge. With a collection of oils that include the peppermint day oil, the carver-infused night oil, the broad spectrum muscle recovery oils, the platinum oils, and the all-new maximum impact diamond oil. They're a brand that has something for absolutely everybody. And if that's not enough, they're dropping all new products all the time. We're talking pain cream. I love the pain cream. Get this pain cream now. My back's killing me. It's absolutely fantastic. And the gummies, ladies and gentlemen, the gummies are gorgeous. They're delicious. Before bed, I'm out like a light. These products can help with memory, focus, muscle soreness, pain relief, relaxation, calming the nervous system.
Essential oils.
More. And as if that wasn't enough, I've got a special
No science behind it.
subscribers only, ladies and gentlemen. Crush Organics is going to offer you an amazing promo code. Are you ready? Get your pigs out. Head over to their store right now and
It's not about science.
boxing-butter, spelled
If
exactly
it works,
like
more
that,
people would know about it. More people would be using it.
and you will get a
If
massive
it works.
45% off.
I'm not ditching it. Like, for those that it does help for, like, good. At least you found something to help you out. But
Alright, let's have a look at the video that outraged.
there's better ways. There's better ways besides spending money on that.
Not the normal tone that I thought it
I get it. We're not all in the same situation.
quite interesting. Let's have a watch.
Feminism is a scam. A few years ago, I was an angry blue-haired feminist.
Hang on. Go back. Do I see some underarm hair there? Is that skin condition or underarm hair? I'm not sure. Could be some skin. It's tissue. And I apologise if it is. But if it is hair, what a powerful and inspiring image it is. I am in love with your underarm hair. Let me sniff it, please.
I once believed that male privilege was real and that I was a victim of the wage gap.
Male privilege. You do hear the fourth wave feminists and feminazis carry on about male privilege. Everything is male privilege. If a man does anything, it's male privilege. Male privilege. Male privilege. But have you noticed that we never hear this? That everybody has privileges. Women have privileges. Non-binary people have privileges. Black people have privileges. Everyone has privileges because, you know what? Something positive whinging. As for the wage gap, doesn't exist. Sorry. Comes down to the amount of hours you work and what field you work in and whether or not you take time off to have children. Okay? If you want to earn as much as the average man, go and get a job that the average man has and work the same amount of hours. And then you will get paid exactly the same. Once again, you whinging. But this is what Shannon is saying that she used to believe. She doesn't believe anymore. Let's see what she believes now.
Now that I understand the true motives of feminism, I know that this could not be further from the truth, and that modern-day feminism is a war on true masculinity.
I tend to agree. Now, you may disagree, but hear me out on this. In a society that doesn't really champion masculinity, in fact, it hates masculinity. And if you're a man who dares show some sort of masculine tendencies, then you are seen as the enemy, or a misogynist, or you're an anti-whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to be so, because masculinity is something like anything. If you can tame it in a particular way, then it can be very beneficial for you and the people around you. Now, if it gets out of hand, sure, it can be shit. Much like femininity can be shit if people turn into I think this is what this comes down to. As long as you're not a then it's all good. That should be a t-shirt. So yeah, feminism has absolutely waged a war on masculinity, without a doubt. Anyway, sorry, Shannon, I'll let you speak. Sorry for mansplaining.
Before women had the right to vote, most were stay-at-home wives, which meant they weren't working jobs and couldn't be taxed. Our overlords didn't like that. Rockefeller started funding feminist campaigns in media, and as a consequence of the movement, women started entering the workforce and leaving the home.
Alright, sorry to interrupt again. It's because it's copywritten music and I have to interrupt every couple of seconds, otherwise the video might get taken down. Alright, sorry about it. But what an interesting idea, or a conspiracy. Women weren't at work, and the Rockefellers thought, hang on, if we're involved in the banks, which they were, and we don't have half of the population at work, and we can't tax that half of the population, why are we doing that? That's missing out on massive amounts of revenue. So if you don't know who the Rockefellers are, it's an extremely rich family, and one of the richest families in America for the last, 150, 200 years. Think billionaires in oil, banking, and politics. But did they create feminism? I'm not so sure. Whistle them? I think I whistled them. I'm not so sure. Now that sounds out there and ridiculous, of course, alright? That this group of bankers and oil tycoons creates feminism
now.
to get more women into the workplace. Maybe it's right. Maybe. There's a lot of weird things that happen in the world. I don't know. Hopefully we can find out through as this video goes on. But I don't know. I don't know if that's right, Shannon. I don't know.
Children would then be separated from their parents and sent to Rockefeller-funded schools to be indoctrinated by the state. All of this ultimately disrupting the family unit at its core. Feminism is defined as the belief in social, economic, and political equality of the sexes. But in the West, I must ask, what rights do men have that women don't?
There's none. There's no rights that men have. I think what issue some people took with this video is that she's stating things that are absolute facts that you can look up on any search engine you choose, whether you use Google or you're a complete and utter retard and use Yahoo. Point being, she throws in these facts, these cold hard facts, with conspiracy theories. And I think that's where she might have lost a few people with this video. But then again, as I said, I don't know. There's absolute cold hard facts that some political organisations have been behind social movements. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about who did what and do who, right? But you might know, if you've heard the dukes and the details on the old interweb, there's been a lot of political things happening over the last few years that have been definitely ran by political motivators. Alright? There you go. I might be talking about Black Lives Matter. I also may not be, so who knows?
Modern feminists are convincing women that hookup culture, using hormonal birth control, and not shaving is liberation. That toxic masculinity is prevalent and the patriarchy must be dismantled.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think she's right with all of those beliefs.
This is either going to be the most DMCA'd video I've ever made, or I'm going to get away with it.
Take loads, I guess. Wear a condom. Chill out. Pull out and hope the best.
Men and women are not the same, and by protesting for equality of outcome rather than opportunity, feminists are demonizing and emasculating men.
Again, I agree. Opportunity of outcome. Wanting people to treat you differently, give you a leg up because of who you are or what, background your family has or what genitals you have. That is opportunity of outcome. And that is terrible. Quality of outcome never works. It's a bad one. You need quality of opportunity. Everyone has the same opportunity. That's what we have in the modern world, and that's what we should continue to have. To give anyone a leg up because they aren't a white male is ridiculous, okay? Give everyone the same opportunities, without a doubt, but don't push people forward just because of the way they look, their skin colour, or what genitals they have. That's fucked up. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, this video caused a bit of a stir. The responses included, but were not limited to,
My least favorite thing about TikTok. Uneducated people who know nothing about the topic they're discussing and spewing nonsense as though they are experts, and people just eating it up.
she goes on to do the exact same thing. Like, nothing like a little bit of hypocrisy.
Hi Shannon, you demonizing modern feminism while clearly not understanding its history or the nuances within the movement, and then describing feminism in such a reductive, infantile, and shallow way is extremely embarrassing.
Alright, so she goes on for like 5 minutes. I'm not putting you through that. Here are the notes that I made on this video. Shannon doesn't understand feminism, okay? She then asks Shannon if she has bank accounts in her name. And if she does have bank accounts, she has feminism to thank. Then she asks, does Shannon think that men should be able to rape women? Because without feminism, men would be able to. At one point, she calls her an able-bodied, cis-het white woman, and then acts like that's a sentence that people understand.
I'll start the next set once I go under 120 beats a minute, which isn't too far.
Well, she was a good person until she didn't like feminism, but now she's a bad person. And she says that feminism doesn't hate men, it wants to set men free. Now, do I disagree with all of those points? No, because feminism has done some great things for women. Women were treated like shit, but it's not like that anymore. Sometimes this shit happens, but that's just bad people, right? It's not all men. This is the problem with all this type of stuff. All these women being victims and then attacking men. It's ridiculous. It's just a battle of two different sexes that means nothing, and all it does is make us angry at each other. This culture wars bullshit that we all fucking invest in our lives, and then we forget about the fact that the interest rates are through the roof and people get fucking homeless. It's a good fucking distraction, isn't it? In that entire video that Old Love made, there wasn't one argument. All it was, hey, without feminism, you'd be raped. Okay.
Modern day feminism is a war on true masculinity.
No! This is literally the start of a neo-Nazi brainwashing pipeline. Just go up for this. This video is designed to start priming your brain to accept anti-Semitic conspiracy theories.
Oh my god. Okay. Please, go on. I'm looking forward to hearing this.
Biggest red flag is the mention of the Rockefellers. That is always code for globalist Jewish conspiracy. Trying to convince you that the Jews are actually in control of everything.
I've never really understood the whole hatred of Jews thing. Like, I don't know any Jewish people. I don't get the hatred of the Jews. Like, I've never really understood that. Let's say that all the Jews are controlling the banking system. But the Saudis are controlling the oil. The Americans are controlling the defense systems all over the world. The Australians are controlling the, I don't know, fucking beer. But I don't know why she thinks that Shannon is some fucking anti-Semitic just because she mentions the Rockefellers.
This image right here that she uses, you notice how Aryan she looks? There are images like that all over alt-right and neo-Nazi Twitter trying to convince women to become the perfect white baby breeding ground.
She's got blonde hair. This lady right here has blonde hair at the front of her face. Is she trying to be Aryan? Maybe Shannon is some mad anti-Semitic person. Or she googled family with lambs. That's what she put in the video. I don't fucking know. So what about the Rockefellers? This is what I found interesting because there's this image that appears in the video. And from what I could tell, this image comes from, and this is what I think Shannon is talking about, it comes from a rents.com. I think that's a website that publishes articles and all that kind of stuff. How the Rockefellers Re-Engineered Women by Henry Macau, PhD. Now, I don't know anything about this dude, but he also wrote this book, The Cruel Hopes, Feminism and the New World Order. Start throwing around New World Order. I somewhat switch off because there may be a New World Order, but there are also a lot of people who are saying that are full of fucking shit. And what I took away from the article is that there's a banking cartel that controls the world, which sounds far-fetched, but not really. Money controls the world. Powers that are not involved in politics and just have the cash definitely control the world. I don't really trust anyone in government, all these people, these billionaires, all big pharma, so I would assume that, yeah, there could be something going on. If you know more about this, let me know in the comment section. I would really be interested to read it, but I just don't know at this point. So I may not agree with the argument, but I agree with Shannon's conclusion.
Same deal. I get under 120 beats a minute and I'll get back at it.
Destroy men and masculinity. Shannon actually went on to make another video on this subject.
The angry victims of the Rockefeller indoctrination camps never failed to disappoint. With so many personal attacks and barely any intelligent counter-arguments.
Hey, here going me again because she used copyright music, so I have to interrupt, and it has to make seem like I'm making a point, even though I'm just interrupting.
Cancel culture at its finest. It's always girls support girls until they have a different opinion.
Not a true word has ever
Who
been
gets here
spoken.
first?
Pull your head in, ladies.
That's a little
Our
bit cheating, isn't it,
freedoms
Cheddar?
are being taken away without our consent. Our wealth is being extracted, centralized, and given to corporate powers. It's not about men versus women, left versus right, or black
Whiskey?
versus white. We are all one. It's about rising up together.
Whiskey's
against
absolutely
a
scared.
corrupt
I wouldn't say
system.
scared of Cheddar, just timid towards him. Because if anything, Cheddar just tolerates Whiskey. But they're getting better. Like, they can at least stay around each other. But there are times when Cheddar
The
just
world
hisses at him.
desperately needs more masculinity. not
Poor
less.
Whiskey just has to take it.
Testosterone is at all-time lows.
Whiskey was raised around cats, so
Veganism is a scam.
I think he's got a bit of a soft spot towards cats. But unfortunately, Cheddar is not reciprocating that love. But hopefully one day.
$1 a month you used to be able to get into the Patreon, right? Get access to podcast live every week and the sealed section that we can't put on Spotify. Now 1,000 people have bought it, it's sold out, it's now $2 a month.
They both need to know that there is enough love for everyone here.
Head over to either Patreon as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think about this whole video. It's a very weird thing, guys. But be a good motherfucker, fix the release. Sure, go and get it. The next thing is to blah, blah, blah.
By China as a cover story. It's clearly owned by Kesha. Have you seen her YouTube account? It would make you wish that China invades the US, I can assure you. But people show me TikToks all the time of some lonely ne'er-do-well. You know the type I'm talking about, the ones that would have used the clout of the Queen dying to say, here's something spicy that no one has the guts to say, okay? I'm glad she's dead. You're glad that lovely old saint of a lady died? Come on, let's ditch becoming a republic just for that one remark. Or, even if it slips through, let's make our first president President Paul Murray. Oh yeah, you thought John Kerr was bad. Seriously though, like this video if you think that would be amazing. Paul Murray going down in history as the first president of Australia. My first point of order, I'm reinstating the monarchy. I'm telling you though, the general view I'm getting about TikTok's politics is that people telling it like it is on TikTok is just Twitter if it was illiterate. And sure, there's TikTok equivalents of your Michael Wests and your PR guy who fight the enemy on its own territory, and I salute you for your patriotism, lads. But you really are the Anzacs in Gallipoli, aren't you? Just with stakes that are nowhere near as high. And actually, just no stakes, no stakes. But you know Twain's quote, if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read the newspaper, you're misinformed. Damn. Mark Twain really was the Mark Twain of his time. It's like an 1800s Bill Burr. Is there anything he said that isn't completely on point? I feel like Zoomers are trading getting their information source for some nerd with deep-seated psychological problems that look exactly like Richard D. Natali, for loners with very visible psychological problems who look exactly like if Pink and Fat Bastard had a child. And as the only 100% certified sane information outlet in the country, that scares me. Oh, I'm so scared I need my Mario security blanket. No, that won't do it. I need my sane juice. Where's my sane juice? Ah! The Windex challenge. I actually did spray some of that in my mouth. And see, if you want to see such hilarious antics live, I have a question for you. What does Sydney, Perth, Canberra, and Brisbane have in common? They all have a subsect of people that clearly are very into monster trucks, yes, but also, I'm coming to your town in a much shorter amount of time than it would have taken to migrate to Australia via steamship. Wow, how does he do it? There's plenty of studies out there that demonstrate that essentially 1 in 5 news stories on TikTok are pretty much fabrication. That's a huge improvement on newspapers, I'll give it that. That's closer to 5 and 5. But seeing as you're getting, what, 4 bouts of epilepsy on TikTok a minute? You're getting something that is wrong virtually every minute. Way more effective than newspapers, sure. And that's just straight up factual inaccuracies, by the way. I'm more concerned about misrepresentation of facts. You know those Greens talking points, those deliberate oversimplifications spread by drug addicts to teenage drug addicts that can't think about anything longer than 10 seconds, that we, being the extremely valuable news source that we are always trying to put into context, like, Labour hates refugees. Well, okay, there's more to that than a sentence. I could explain it to you. Nah, I'm already bored. Now I'm watching a TikTok about the health benefits of anal beach, and yeah, it's already over. Damn it! It depends what your flavour is too, right? There's always going to be some version of Labour's ban on masks. Cole, the woke agenda isn't woke enough. They tax too little, they tax too much. I don't know, I forget which one's supposed to be the good one these days. The point is, they are all market-tested attack points that you see echoed on all social media in different little enclaves, and the overall objective of seeding these micro-points into these micro-communities is to disable competent government. I'll go into this more in another video, but this death by 1,000 cuts strategy is not new. Only the platforms that are able to spread these misrepresentations are new, and they can spread them quicker than at any point in history, and there is a never-ending supply of dimwits perfectly willing to unwittingly spread these government-crippling ideas for free. And TikTok is the absolute bottom of the barrel, used by developer grades, that is simultaneously devolving thanks to TikTok, who, because they have no attention span now, they just missed out on the fact that I had a moustache appear on my face for 3 milliseconds. Oh, look, it's back! Lightning strikes twice! But that lacing of damaging messaging that was formed in think tanks and then sprinkled in between the general feeling you get on TikTok of I'm missing out and everyone has a better life than me, and that's true, but if you get off and go back to what nerds did back in the day, which is get obsessed with Doctor Who, you'll be much happier lost in that endless drama, even when you come across this. What the hell? Like, I know this is supposed to be a robot, but come on. Don't you think you dressing up as a robot at 5 was better than that? But I think this is where a new fault line is emerging. It is because of that tiny negativity-soaked attention span that I think it's going to be very hard to reach these people. Like, what I was noticing with the whole, the Queen, we're like the Sex Pistols without the sex, yeah? A lot of the politics seems to be centred around symbols that their enclave has either been trained to like or dislike, like, $5 note. I wish I could just say to them, oh, you like symbols? Well, Anthony Albanese just made the Governor-General very upset, yeah. How's that for spitting on old Betty's grave, eh? I'm sorry to say that, Betty, I'm just trying to get to the level of you like the world's grandmother who lovely sort of looking at her. You know that 18 million Scott Morrison gave the GG's foundation, and then GG Hurley signed off on Scott Morrison becoming a secret dictator? Shirts available at friendlyjordies.com. What better symbolism do you need than Albo going, nah, if you want 18 million, you're gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way, Hurley, by going back in time and starting the surf brand, Hurley. See, if you were into Doctor Who, kids, you'd know that going back in time's possible. Yeah, like this video if you like that gag. I was pretty proud of my time in the writer's room for that one. Hurley. Oh, I like the blood shorts, yeah. But you couldn't pick a better symbol of what these governments stand for than favours for mates, favours for the public. If you really don't want to print Charles on the new $5 bills, what about Albo going, yeah, go to South. Now, change the $5 note to green and red. And not just because of the South colour either, but because of my secret alliance with the Greens. Or how I see that the same Labour types are always bitching about robo-debt and also bitching about Bill Shorten. I have got to ask, why are you attacking the guy that was not only instrumental...
Well, my workout done. There's Cheddar. Hello, Cheddar. There we go. And there's whiskey. There we go. Hello, my Russian friend. I'm assuming that's Russian because that's all where I know it from. But lovely to see you, I guess, even though I don't know what you're saying. Hair's only done today because I just came back from work. Oh, anyway, that's it for today. Sorry, but oh, that's it. I don't really speak Russian, so either you're a bot or you're saying hello, but hello to you, honey Maddie. The 20 crunches, sleepy. Apologies. Okay. Okay. Let's do this. Crunches. Put it on properly. There he goes. Sleepy. Always making sure I'm not allowed to do the bare minimum. This thing's not aligning, but whatever. You get it. Oh, that didn't feel good. "20 crunches, Sleepy. Much appreciated for the 20 crunches." Hope you're enjoying your lurking in the background there and saving up your points. Dance, Cheddar, dance. No jokes. Alright, that's done. I am done. I gotta go shower. Gonna get ready, go mates, play some board games. Let Whiskey out and do his business. But that's it for today. Whoops. Yeah. Maybe on the workout on Friday. My boss is coming me in early in the morning, 7 a.m. Don't finish work till 7 p.m. So I'll see. Maybe I'll get home. Maybe I'll do an hour on the treadmill or something. Not the treadmill, the exercise bike. But I'll see how I feel. Got a big day on Saturday with a bunch of mates. So we'll see about that. Don't know if I'll get any wrist training or forearm training in that weekend. This weekend, I don't think so. If not, hopefully maybe sometime on Sunday or next Monday. Next Monday is a public holiday for us here in Australia, so got a bit of time. Got a bit of time to do things. But anyway. Sorry, my mate of mine's messaging me about something. You guys hear about the Try Guys and everything and all that. If you guys follow the Try Guys, me and my missus, we watch them together. One of the things that we share in our pastimes. Well, Scandal with Ned Fulmer. I Love My Wife guy. Who would have thought? People that you least expect, but it is what it is. The world keeps spinning. Let's see what they do next. Alright, you guys have a good night. Have a happy hump day. It's Wednesday here in Oz. Don't know if you're back in time in the US or somewhere else, but anyway, take care until next time.